my friend, I want to ask you, have you been listening to some of my podcasts for a while and identified for yourself all the areas that you feel your business could be better in? Maybe you just are so busy you haven't yet mastered the working as much as you like bit. Or maybe you're just not bringing in the money, like you're struggling with the income, or it's just not enough. Well, it's time for us to have a conversation. In the show notes, there is a link to my Evolution call. If you're a dance boss and you are ready to take action, let's have a chat and let's see where I can take you. Hello and welcome, lovelies, to the Ultimate Dance Business Podcast. My name is Deborah Laws, the dance business expert. My passion is to help you turn your passion into profit while guiding you to work less and earn more. I'm super excited to share interviews with you that I know will inspire and motivate you in your schools, as well as my solo shows where I shall be sharing some great tips and strategies. So if you love the show, please do remember to review, subscribe, and share it with your fellow dance boss friends. So let's get stuck into the business of dance. I am so thrilled today to invite onto the podcast the beautiful Natalie Pearl, because today we are going to talk all about teaching boys and everything around the subject of growing and encouraging boys into dance. Natalie, welcome.
Good morning, Deborah. Thank you so much for having me to talk about one of my most favourite subjects.
I know. This is a huge passion of yours. I mean, obviously it's a passion for all dance teachers, but this is something that you have massively become an advocate for. And we're going to kind of find out a little bit more about where that passion started and how this has come about, and also what you do. But first of all, just tell us a little bit about you, your school, like where it all started, and then perhaps lead into why boys are such an important part of what you do.
Yes, so I have a dance school in Bournemouth. We just had our 21st birthday last week, big show.
Congratulations.
So thank you. So yes, I've had my dance school for 21 years, teaching lots of boys and girls over that time. And then 6 years ago was the starting point of me really becoming a huge advocate for boys' dance, when I had, I'm sure, most teachers around, if not all teachers around, have that, have your classes of lots of girls and the odd one or two boys throughout the school. I had the moment that it all kind of like happened for me was it was a grade 1 ballet class. I had a little boy come along, William, and he was desperate to dance. He'd always come along to classes with his sister and been out in the waiting area dancing around and kind of showing me all his moves, and I kept saying to his mum he really should start dancing. So he eventually did. He came along to this grade 1 ballet class. He was 8 years old. Within about 5 minutes of the class, he literally burst into tears and ran. So I had to run after him. Very feisty little boy. And he was like, oh my goodness, I hate it so much. It's just full of girls and everything's pink and I hate it and I hate it. And I really want to dance, but it's not fair. There's no other boys, blah, 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 blah. And so from that moment, I was like, oh my God, how many boys there are out there who feel exactly the same. So a week later, I said to his mum, I'm going to start a boys' class, a boys only class. Is there any friends of his who would like to come along? So I had 4 little boys come along that next week for this boys only class. 4 little 8-year-olds fueled with energy and just wild. And so my boys only class was born. Since then, I have consistently had 50 to 60 boys in my school. The classes have grown from that one class to 8 dedicated boys classes a week now that I teach.
Wow.
And yeah, just realizing that was what I had to do. I had to start a boys only class for all of these boys out there, so many of them who want to dance, but just feel that they don't belong in a dance school. So, things like the environment of a dance school, the colors, the pictures in the studio, all of that, the fact that unfortunately as dance teachers, obviously I don't so much anymore, I don't at all anymore, but you'll kind of look at a class and be like, okay, girls. And then you're like, oh God, but, and the boys sort of stood there going, great, and you're like, oh, sorry, and boys, just little things like that. And it was just that main feeling that boys felt that they didn't belong. It wasn't a place for them. So, kind of realizing that. And then off the back of my success of having all these boys dancing, I wanted to do more and more and more. In lockdown in 2020, there was something on the radio about it being National Cupcake Day or Bubble Bath Day or something like that. And I thought, is there a National Boys Dance Day? So I quickly Googled it and there wasn't. So I thought, well, there is now. So
I love that.
Researched into that and started it. And the first year we did a National Boys Dance Day online because we were still in the deep darkness of lockdown. Had a few boys come online and do a workshop all together with a male teacher that I'd got. And then the next year I did a live event, which had about 30 or 40 boys come, which I thought was amazing. Then Central School of Ballet contacted me and wanted to be involved, loved what I was doing, and said they would love to collaborate with me. So last year in 2023, we did the National Boys Dance Day at Central School of Ballet in London. And I had over 100 boys come for the whole day, and we had a wait list of 30, which I just couldn't believe. And the vision that morning of all these boys coming along and registering was just mind-blowing. And obviously they had the best day ever, all being together.
I'm sure they did. And Natalie, wow, what a journey. And do you know, the first thing that I really love about this is, I suppose a little bit similar to me, you see something that's missing, that's something that doesn't exist. And rather than kind of going, oh, that's a shame, there isn't a National Boys Dance Day. And for me, it was similar around the conference that I run. Oh, there isn't a conference that's dedicated to dance school principals. Let's just do one, like no brainer. If it doesn't exist, someone's got to do it. Like I'll be that person. And I think, I love that, that really kind of, why isn't there? Well, there is now.
Yeah.
We need lots of people like that in the world. And it's so lovely to hear, that you're such an advocate, and what a journey already in such a short period of time that you've already got a sellout boys event. And clearly it's needed. Clearly these boys need to feel more embraced by dance. And I think, it's wonderful that we've got this fabulous ambassador now. And for those of you that don't know, I created something called the Dance Business Awards, and there is a boys award for the best boys program. Natalie has been our judge ever since we started that. We're really grateful for that. And I know that you love looking over those entries because it's so lovely to see the schools that are really embracing boys in their programs. And so I suppose, one of the things I would ask is, why do you think that dance schools, boys are 50% of the population. Why do dance schools not do more to encourage boys? Why do you think that is?
Gosh, there's so many reasons. I think with all my research that I've done over the last few years as well, I think where I personally feel it starts is when you do your teacher training. And I know when I did my teacher training with the various associations that I'm with, I did very little or absolutely no training on how to teach boys. And which I just find bizarre because, like you said, 50% of the population, on a business side of things, there's a heck of a lot more money that you could be earning.
Yeah, right.
If you're having, the boy, more boys dancing. So I think the kind of lack of education as teachers of how to teach boys and how to encourage them, because like I said right at the beginning, it's always like girls, and syllabuses are very female based with, the additional boys exercises and things. And it kind of feels like they're a bit of a last minute kind of just, oh yes, we'll do something for boys as well. And, when you look at the profession, there's the same amount of male performers as there is female performers. So not quite sure why, that's happening kind of at the grassroots, that there isn't that sort of like support for boys. So I think there, and I think, teaching boys is very different from teaching girls, which I have discovered. And I know a lot of teachers are like, oh no, the boys that I have, they love coming and doing the class with the girls and things, which of course they do. I mean, my boys that I have, they love doing the classes with girls, especially by the time they get to teenagers. I mean, who wouldn't want to be in a room with all these beautiful girls in leotards 3 nights a week? It's just, but yeah, just, not realizing that for the majority of boys, they do need to be taught differently to girls for so many reasons. Mentally, physically, the differences are huge. From the way that you speak to the boys is very different to the girls. I very quickly found that out as I was teaching the boys' classes. And the way I teach a boys' classes is very different. I'm still me. I'm still, everything behind what I'm teaching is the same, but my use of language is different. The pace of the class, what I do in the class is very different, especially when first introducing boys to dance. Physically, obviously, things like chemically, hormonally, the difference, all the testosterone that boys have against the estrogen that girls have. So physically, they're not as flexible as girls. They're much stronger. The way the connective tissue is, without going into all that detail, but the way that you have to teach them physically is very different. And mentally, again, because of the way that their brains are chemically made up, they don't learn in the same way. They don't have the same attention span. And any teachers out there that are listening to this that have boys in their classes definitely know that. They don't, boys don't multitask. It's like girls do. They're kind of a funny thing that we always say about, men can't multitask. It's very true. And when boys are learning, they do need to learn in a different way. So to keep them coming to the classes, you need to be nurturing that and realizing that, so they feel like they're being fulfilled in a class.
Yeah.
And when you have a whole class of boys, it's, then it's very easy to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm just thinking of that scenario where, dance teachers do have maybe just the odd boy in the odd class. And, I can imagine some of our listeners thinking, well, I understand that. Totally agree with everything you're saying, Natalie. But, how do we put on a class just for 1 or 2 boys? It's financially not viable. And I suppose the thing is, it's not about how you adjust what you've got now. It's about building from the bottom, isn't it? Like, you didn't just suddenly get 60 boys overnight and classes for all ages and different standards and genres. Like, you had to build that from scratch. Yeah. And so, what are your tips around doing that? Do we do it like we would build our school? You can start with the little ones and then build those classes out. And then when they get a bit older, you start with the next class. Like, how do you build up to having 50 or 60 boys and being able to do separate classes for boys?
So I think it's a bit like what I said earlier with the National Boys Dance Day, just do it. Just do it. And I know that sounds really kind of blasé of me now, but that's what I did. And some teachers that I have done training with the All Boys Can Dance teaching program that I do, they have done the same. And you do just have to take that plunge. You do need to just find that half an hour a week and just say, right, I'm going to do a boys class, and, advertise it out to your boys that, so how I started. So like I said, I had this little boy, William, and some of his friends came along, and then obviously I advertised it out to the dance school. Is there any brothers? I started, and it was because he was 8. So I did a class for 8 to 10-year-olds. Because I think, and, again, other dance teachers will recognize this, when they're younger, you do get more little boys starting in the baby ballet and the primary ballet and stuff, and modern and tap, and then they kind of fizzle out as they get older. So I found that starting at that age was a good age to start. And then as that class kind of grew, then a couple of boys who were doing the classes with the girls joined, and I actually had a bit of a mixed age group of that first class. So there were some boys who were sort of 12 or 13 that started to do, because they just wanted to do a class with all boys. And that was fine, because we were just doing a generic dance class. It was absolutely 100% fun, chaos, energy. But the feeling of them all being together was what they so desperately needed, and craved to have. And that kind of thing of having a few older boys in the class with the younger ones, you've got the mentorship there. You've got them looking up to the older boys in the class, the older boys loving being able to help the younger ones. Because boys as well, I mean, girls do as well, but boys in particular, they love to be part of a team, of a little crew, a gang, a tribe. I always use these words when I'm sort of like describing the boys' classes, because it's so important to them, and they just love it and thrive off of all being together.
Now, I would love to invite you to the Dance Business Conference, which is held in Birmingham in the UK. This is a wonderful 2-day event where you are going to listen to some incredible keynote speakers. You're going to do some workshopping. You're going to learn lots of new things around running your dance school. You're going to meet lots of exhibitors that have businesses that could be great for you to work with. But more importantly, we're going to make friends, we're going to have fun, and we're going to hang out together, all learning how to be inspired and motivated to run a better school. And of course, we also have the Gala Dinner Dance, which is the red carpet event of the year for dance school owners, where we present the Dance Business Awards. So if you would like to exhibit or sponsor the conference, if you would like to attend or enter the Dance Business Awards, then please go to www.dancebusinesssolutions.com, where you can buy your tickets, find out more information, and hopefully come join me on the 8th and 9th of August. See you there. And I think, from a business perspective, which obviously, we need to bring into this a little bit too, there's so many opportunities with boys that aren't tapped into in terms of dance, isn't there? I mean, you've mentioned the classes that they can do, but there's so many opportunities for them to get involved in dance. There's so many local youth groups, and because there's so few boys, I feel like there are more opportunities open to them. If they're auditioning for a youth group and there's 200 girls for 5 places, chances are there might only be 10 boys for 5 places. Yeah. So, we can really kind of encourage them, because there is such little competition, generally speaking, obviously, until you get into the colleges, and then there's lots of amazing talent. But I think from that business perspective, if you do start a class and you've only got 3 or 4 initially, my view is, what better incentive to then really get to grips with your marketing, because you don't want to be running a class that's only just breaking even or costing you money if you're paying a teacher to do it. So, don't give up on that, really keep going with it until you've got a nice, vibrant class that is, is financially rewarding for you as well. Yeah. So even if you get started like Natalie did with just 2 or 3 at the early stages, use that as your kind of starting point to then build and explore. And you mentioned, Natalie, that you do a teacher's course to help them actually learn about teaching boys. Like, what does that course look like?
So again, over lockdown, I got asked by a couple of the dance associations, because we were all doing obviously lots of different seminars and things online. And I just, my first one was for the BBO. I did an hour's seminar as part of their dance days. And which was quite terrifying, because I went online for the first time to talk about how to teach boys just from my own experience. And I was faced with like 200 teachers. I was like, oh my gosh. But it was amazing. And the feedback I got was so phenomenal. And so many teachers just from that started up a boys class. A lot did in lockdown, because they said there was always the brothers in the background, like hiding behind the sofa and popping out and trying some of the moves and things. And so again, from that sort of like time, that sort of time over lockdown, me doing more of an official course was kind of born. And so I started at the beginning of this year, created a program called ABC Dance, All Boys Can Dance. And it's a 5-hour teaching program where I go through all of the different steps of how to encourage boys to dance, what to do in the classes. I go through all of the physical and mental differences between boys, so teachers really understand how and what to do. Also, very importantly, all of the barriers that there are and all of the stigmas, obviously, and the totally outdated stereotypes that there are around boys' dance, and really how to fix those, and how to, things like with your marketing, things that attract boys massively. Like, boys love to perform, love to show off, like, so much. I remember in that first class that I did, because my studios were being used for something else. So I was in kind of like the main hall that we have at my premises. And there's a stage, like a lot of, halls have a stage. And I remember the boys being like, oh my God, there's a stage. When are we going to do a show? Can we perform? Can we go on the stage? And I was just like, okay. And, something like that in the marketing is so important, because they want to do all these things. They want to perform. They want to do these different events and stuff. And so, just finding that, like I say, that's something that I do in the course of, particularly with the marketing, using language that will attract the boys and their families. Very importantly, their dads who obviously initially have this kind of, again, outdated stereotypes of, oh, my boy's not going to dance, especially not ballet, he's going to do football and rugby, and and not really realizing the benefits of dance and how male dancers are athletes. They absolutely are. Their fitness, their strength, the stamina, the agility. And then, the magical thing that we have with dance is the performance on top of it and the emotional side of it, which nothing else has, no other sport has. So I very much talk about advertising dance as a sport and these boys as athletes, because they are.
Right.
So yeah. That's very, very important.
It is learning, isn't it, how to use the right wording and languaging to do that. And you've obviously tried and tested that over the last few years, which is so fabulous that you've created this. Is it a day course, in-person day course, isn't it?
In-person day course. And then I did my first one online a couple of weeks ago, because I've got a lot of teachers from abroad who wanted to do it as well. So I'm planning on doing more online and and obviously more in person, because obviously it's great doing it online. But in person, there's far much more, because everybody starts chatting and you hear different people's experiences, which is quite difficult to do on Zoom.
Yeah.
And it's always, the day flies by. There's so much to talk about. And, I make sure that at the end of it, all the teachers go away with a personalized plan of exactly what they're going to do. And, I catch up with them all the time afterwards, see what they're doing. They send me their adverts that they're going to do, and they let me know, oh, we had this many boys come, and
amazing. So, fantastic. I'm just so thrilled. This sounds so great, because it's one thing us talking about boys and your story and how you've done it, but then some teachers that might be listening to this that are feeling, gosh, I really think I should do more with our boys, but don't really know where to start. It's lovely that they can just come in one day, basically learn and pick your brains of all the way that you've managed to do this successfully, and go away with all the kind of information, the incentive and the enthusiasm to go and do more. And so you've done a couple of these now. So share with us, if you don't mind, Natalie, what have some of the results been of people that have done this? Like, is it actually really helping them? Have they grown their boys' programs?
Yes, absolutely. There's a few teachers who did my very first initial course back in lockdown, who I know now there's one teacher who I know has 2 classes of about 12 to 15 boys.
Amazing.
So she has about 30 boys only classes in her school. And then sort of fast forward to the more recent ones now, a course that I did in Birmingham in February. I know that about 5 of the teachers that came there, I hear from them frequently, and they started their boys' classes, and they've got sort of like 6, 7, 8 boys that initially started, and that's starting to build. So yeah,
Fabulous.
the only way that
Fabulous.
we're going to do it is if people do it, do actually take that step, and and create the boys' classes.
Yeah.
I had a moment just before Christmas where I was doing a show with my dance school, with lots of other dance schools as well, and there was a number where I had 22 of my senior boys on stage. And I looked at it and I just thought, my God, all of those boys, if I hadn't started the boys only class, would not be there. They just simply would not be there. And they would, happily tell me that as well, because they had, possibly always wanted to dance, or maybe not known that they did. But once they did, and there they were, all were.
And how incredible would it be if every dance school around the country and globally also had 22 seniors on stage? I feel like it would just transform the whole dance industry. Being that inclusive and, finding a way, because it's really interesting because, when I first started to chat to you earlier, I thought you were going to talk to me about how to get more boys into dance into your current classes. But actually, it feels like the key here is creating their own classes, which is a strategy that I know some people do, but maybe others hadn't appreciated just how impactful and how important that element is. So, I'm really hoping that this is inspiring lots of our listeners today, from so many different aspects, from just wanting to share the love of dance with more little people, whatever gender they are, to growing your schools and and your businesses and making more money. There seems to be so many positives around this. Natalie, how can people find you? I know you've got a Facebook group and we've talked a bit about your courses. Like, this is your opportunity to completely exploit people finding out about you, because why would I not want people to come and embrace more boys? So where can we find you, Natalie?
So Facebook and Instagram, there is the National Boys Dance Day page, which is full of stuff. It's, their page is dedicated to everything boys dance. Obviously on there, it's advertising the National Day that we do, but there's lots of other things that happen throughout the year as well. Different classes online that where I'll get a male teacher online, and then loads of boys can just come and join from across the country and see faces, see other boys who are dancing. And also with the National Day, I do invite any teachers that have boys that come to the day to come and watch, to observe the whole day, which is really lovely, getting them and seeing the teachers then seeing all these boys and the impact that it has on them. And then ABC Dance, the course, there is a Facebook group which you can obviously join or be invited to. And again, on there's lots of different bits of information, regarding the courses, but also anything regarding boys dance, anything that's happening. And I'd love to hear people's stories and things. And obviously there's a website as well, the ABC Dance website.
So basically you've got somewhere that parents and students can go, and then you've got the place for teachers to go to as well. So we'll put your links into our show notes so that people can come and find you, because we need more people like you that are really pushing boys dance to the forefront. Thank you for doing so. That's all I want to say. I think without people that feel really passionate about certain things, whether it's boys, whether it's SEND, whether it's, being all inclusive, like without people forging that pathway forwards for everybody else to think, it's all right for me to do more of this, or I should be doing more of this. We don't have those examples, and we just carry on in the way that we've been going for so many years.
Yeah. And I think with boys, because of the outdated stereotypes and stigmas that there are, it's like, really, it's 2024 and we still have this. It's absolutely crazy. And I strongly believe that unless we do more as teachers, it isn't going to change. We're still going to be in the same place in 20 years' time with the odd one or two boys that dance, and, you know, football is for boys, dancing is for girls. You know, that's an example that I've mentioned before, is women's football. I mean, look what's happened there. We can do the same with boys dance. And it's only because schools had girls' football teams. The Saturday clubs started a girls' team. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been playing. You know, and it's exactly the same with dance. I feel if we have classes for them, they will come.
Yeah.
Yes, it's not going to be like an instant 20 in a class. You know, of course not. We all know that. We've all built our schools. But if you keep going, and they're just amazing to teach. I love teaching the boys' classes. The energy, and other teachers out there who have boys' classes know that a class of boys is amazing. Wild and amazing, and just, gorgeous.
So Natalie's wonderful advice to you all listening is just do it. Like, I feel like that Nike slogan should have been yours, Natalie. I love to finish, as we just wrap this up, just with something now a little bit more personal, just about you. We've all got a bit of a glimmer of your passion and your, you know, the lovely person that you are, the giving person that you are. But just a few silly, quick fire questions to finish.
Oh no, okay.
So this is the bit where everyone takes a deep breath and then suddenly feels nervous.
Say?
You really don't need to. So are you ready? Here
I'm ready.
Okay. Favorite ice cream?
Oh, salted caramel.
Okay. Favorite mountain view?
Oh, favorite mountain view? I guess when I was in Geneva looking over the Alps. Beautiful. Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Fabulous. Good.
No, I haven't really been on many mountains.
You haven't been on many mountains. You need more mountains in your life.
I do.
What about favorite dance genre?
Oh no, that's impossible. That's totally impossible, because I love all of them.
Okay.
Sorry, can't answer that one.
Can't and won't.
But my boys' favourite dance genre, when I asked them, my 22 senior boys, their favourite dance genre is ballet.
Fabulous. And I'm sure that's all down to you. Well done. If you could spend 15 minutes with anybody that's no longer here, so from history, whether it's someone famous or someone close to you, who would that be and why?
You just made me feel very emotional.
Oh,
my nan,
your
because
nan.
she was a dancer. Back in, you know, the war times, using the blackout fabric to make the costumes and everything. And she was always, her and my granddad, he was a musician. He would play the piano, and the girls would, when the girls were dancing, they entertained the troops for years. And she did, you know, she was my inspiration. I remember being in her kitchen when I was younger and dancing around and choreographing dances with Nanny Olive. And she passed away before I'd started I'm going, thanks, Deborah. She passed away before I started.
She'd be so proud of you right now.
Oh my God, she would be just, so I'd love to have 15 minutes with her and just, tell her all this stuff. She would love it.
Tell her all your news and what you're creating in the world. That's beautiful. Yeah. And lastly, Natalie, if you had one thing on your bucket list that you could tick off in the next 2 years, what would it be?
Personally, or to do with dance?
I don't mind. Let's do both. Let's do both.
Okay, both. I need more holidays.
Right.
We were talking.
Where would you go? Where would you go?
I would go to just somewhere tropical and unspoilt and beautiful, with just no buildings around, just peace and quiet and calm and beautifulness. Yeah, that's where I would go. Somewhere, anywhere like that.
And then in business, what's on your bucket list?
Obviously with the boys, just like, you know, I would love to grow National Boys Dance Day even more than it is. I mean, the day after the event last year, we sold out 80% of the places. But I'm looking at next year, you know, bigger, and then maybe in 2 years' time to have, I don't know, 500 boys, not 100 boys. Not quite sure how I'm going to do that yet, but it would be amazing to do that. See loads of schools with classes of boys.
Yeah. It's so wonderful to hear your ambitions and your plans, and also how much you're helping everyone. So thank you from the dance industry for, following your heart and being so passionate about this. And I hope that today has just sparked a little bit of interest in, those dance teachers out there that just, also share some of your passion, but maybe just didn't really know how to go about that. So I would definitely say go and find Natalie, check out her teacher's course, get involved, because, we all can't we? We can all play our part. It's been such a pleasure, Natalie. Thank you for your time. I know you're a super busy lady. Took us a little while to get this date in the diary today. We got there. And I really appreciate you giving up your time. Thank you so much.
No, thank you, Deborah. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to talk about something that I obviously love. Thank you.
You're welcome. So, my friend, I want to ask you, have you been listening to some of my podcasts for a while and identified for yourself all the areas that you feel your business could be better in? Maybe you just are so busy you haven't yet mastered the working as much as you like bit. Or maybe you're just not bringing in the money, like you're struggling with the income, or it's just not enough. Well, it's time for us to have a conversation. In the show notes, there is a link to my Evolution call. If you're a dance boss and you are ready to take action, let's have a chat and let's see where I can take you.